Welcome back to the arbitress. So in this class, this is a continuation of the drafting of our transparent cupped corsets. The drafting is already uploaded on the channel, so this is the concluding part, which is the sewing. So if you have not watched the drafting, the link is in the description box. You can check it down below. If this is something you would like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so I have gone ahead to mark out my channels. I hope you can see it. Because of the nature of the fabric, it's not so visible, but I've marked out the places I want to place my channel. And for the back, you can see I've also marked out the bonnet channel for the back. So like I was explaining, for the back, we need to place eyelets on this, and we cannot place eyelets on the corset mesh, so we're going to be placing it on our curve fabric. I have cut out my curve fabric. Unfold, this is 2 inches, which means when you open it out, it's going to be 4 inches. And then I added hairstay to it, and I folded it into 2 and iron, so that it can be easy for me to work with. So this is what I have. So now we are going to be replacing this with this part. I hope you understand it. We're going to be replacing this with this part, so that this will be strong enough. So basically what we are doing is like changing that tiny mesh to a thicker crepe, so that we can place our eyelets. So this is what I am doing, like this. Okay, you can also insert it like this, but I just want to cut mine out so that it won't be so bulky for me. So to do that, I'm just going to mark out the space that this thing is going to replace, and then I'm going to cut that space out. So with your chalk, you can mark that out, but for me, I've already marked it out here. I can see that space that this thing is going to replace. I've marked it with my chalk, so I'm just going to cut it out. So when you're cutting it out, please add seam allowance to that, because you're of course going to sew it back. I hope you understand that. So now that it is out, this is what we have left of our back, and I'm going to be placing my bonnet channels on this. I've already marked out where the channels are going to be as well. So I'm going to start to create the channel now, and then I'll fix it on the corset. I'm going to wrap the bonnet now, and then I'm going to fix it on the corset. So I'm still going to show you how I'm going to be doing this lacing bar, but for now I want to insert all the bonnet on the channels that I have marked. Okay, so I just want to show you how I wrap my bonnet for it to be ready for the corset. So this is the bonnet, and this is the fabric that I'm going to use to wrap it. So like I said, you can add hairstay to your fabric to make it stronger. So I have the fabric that I have is about 1.5 inches wide. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to turn it to the right side like this, and then I'm going to be placing my bone on it. So when I place it, the one on the outer part, which is this side, I'm going to run a stitch to hold it down like this. Then after that, I will flip. So I have run a stitch on this one, so you can see I just run a stitch to hold it down. So after holding it down, I'm going to flip it like this. You can see that the seam allowance is no longer showing. So I'm going to flip it to the right side like this. If you don't want it so thick, you can just use maybe 1 inch will be fine, but I want it to be thick a little bit. That's why I'm using this much. So after flipping like this, I'm going to fold in this seam allowance like this. Okay, and then I'm going to just fold in my seam allowance and then lay this on it. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So formally like this. So now I have flipped this like this, so that my bonnet is separate and then my crepe is separate like this. So I'm going to fold the seam allowance like this, and then I will fold the bonnet on it Okay, so you should leave enough to cover your bony completely, like this, when you are folding in your seam allowance. So you have to bear that in mind. So after flipping like this, I'm going to fold it, then fold the boning on it. So after folding the boning on it like this, I'm just going to close it up just like this, and then I'm going to sew on it. So when you sew, you will see that the boning is completely encased inside your casing. I hope you understand that. So that's what we have here, and I've done this. So that is how I'm going to create channels for all of them. And then after creating the channel, it's going to be easy for me to sew. I'll just simply place it wherever I want it to be, like this, and then I'm going to sew it on both sides. So it is that simple. So that's for the boning casing. For the channel, for creating the eyelet channel that we're going to use to lace it, the lacing bar at the back, remember that we have our fabric already like this, 4 inches, and I folded in my half-inch allowance on one side. So on the side that I folded in is the side that I want to be the right side. Okay, the other side, you can see the allowance is still there. So now, which is the wrong side? So on the wrong side, I want to sew in 2 bonings. You can see I sew one very close to the part where we folded, and then I left space to actually punch my hole for the eyelet. So this space is about 0.75 inches. You can leave up to 1 inch depending on the size of the eyelet that you're using and how big you want it to be. You can see mine is just 0.75. So immediately I left that space, I placed another bone on the side like this. So you can see that we have 2 bones on each side of the eyelet space that we have there. So now what you're going to do is to bring in your back. Okay, then after bringing in the back, the part that is not folded, that's the wrong part, I'm going to place it on the center back. This is the side, this is the center back. Remember, we already cut out the space that we are going to be replacing with this, so please don't forget that, so that you don't have excess on your corset. So now I'm going to place this like this, and then I'm going to sew with my 1/2 inch seam allowance. So after sewing with your 1/2 inch seam allowance, it's going to look like this. Okay, the seam allowance is going to be towards this side like this. Sorry, it's going to be like this. So after flipping it like this, the next thing is for you to cover up with this one that you have already folded in. After covering it up, you're going to stitch on it. I have done that for the other side, you can see. So this is what it's going to look like. So the middle part here is where I'm going to be creating my eyelet channel. So what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and sew this to the back first. Then after sewing it to the back, I'm going to flip like this, and then I'll cover it up. I hope you get that. So after doing that, I'm going to create my channels and then put bonings where I want it to be. I'll do all of this now and then bring it back for us to continue. So after covering it up like that, the next thing is to top stitch on the boning. You already have where you sew it, so I'm just going to go ahead and sew on that part exactly. So when you flip it to the wrong side, you're going to see the seam line there. So I'm going to sew on that. Same thing for the other side as well. So the excess that I have here, I'm just going to go ahead and cut it off. So this is what it looks like on the right side, and this is what it looks like on the wrong side. So I'll just go ahead and iron it. Okay, so I've gone ahead to add the boning. You can see, make sure that it is as neat as possible. So this is the front and these are the two back panels. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to fix my cups to the front. So before I fix the cup, this center here, this part, I'm going to use my fabric. So you can cut it in form of a bias or straight, because this part is actually straight. So you're going to use that to turn this neatly. Remember, the cup is already turned, so I'm going to go ahead and use this to turn this part neatly before I fix the cup. So after turning this part neatly like this, I'm going to go ahead and fix my cup inside this. So I have created this channel, the casing. I have turned the mid part just like I explained. So you can also put a bone in there to strengthen it if you want. Okay, it's soft now. When you insert the bone in there, it just makes it stronger. That's what the bone is going to do. So you can see I have inserted one of the cups. So I'm going to go ahead and insert the other cup as well. Then after that, all the seam allowance that I have, I'm going to trim it down, and then I'm going to turn it with a bias as well so that it can be neat. So I'll go ahead and do this now. I just want you to see this before I continue. I've gone ahead, you can see this is the right side, you can see the cup. I've gone ahead to stitch it, and then I reduce the seam allowance. So after stitching it to the right side like this and reduce the seam allowance, I'm just going to place a bone in here to cover up what you have here. I've done that for one side, and you can see my boning. Okay, this is the side, and you can see. So when you turn it to the wrong side, it's going to be neat as well. This is the side, so you're not going to see any seam allowance there. So after that, now I'm going to go ahead and pipe the upper part and the hem of the corset. I'm going to be using this bias that I created to pipe it so that it can be neat. Okay, so I'm going to pipe that, and that is how we are doing. So I'll do that and bring it back to show us what we have. So this is what it looks like when I was done piping the upper and lower part. You can see how beautiful this looks. So like I said, the tutorial on how I drafted and sewed the custom made cup is already uploaded as well and linked, as well as the tutorial on the drafting of this corset. If you want to learn it, the link is in the description box down below. I hope you enjoy making this beautiful tutorial with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.